Okay, so remember, New Ventures Worldwide, it's a volunteer program. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat at the end, and we can discuss them. The first thing you need to think about when you're here, um, you are coming for a number of different reasons. I know this, okay, but when you come to the school, they are saying, right, they expect you to be like any other teacher, okay? They expect you to have the same level of maturity as a teacher. They expect you to know how to move around kids like a teacher. They expect you to somehow understand the discipline, the timetable, everything going on at this school. And you've literally just turned up in Spain, and you've literally just turned up in this town, and it's the first time you've ever seen these kids, you know. So they'll probably give you about 20 minutes and say, this is the new person. And then they'll give you a timetable and might say, now get on with it. Okay. But the important thing, which is no bad thing, being in at the deep end. Okay. Absolutely no bad thing. But I think what you have to think about is very, very quickly, you need to assume that role. Okay. You need to identify your first person of contact, and you need to start going with the flow. Start going with the flow. Okay. That's part of the fun. Okay. But you're no longer a student. Okay. You are not one of the kids. And therefore, how you act, what you say, what you do, what you ask for, particularly, the biggest enemy right now. If I ask you all, please write in the chat box or tell me, what do you think the biggest enemy is to in Spanish schools? What is the biggest, what is the most annoying single factor in Spanish schools at the moment? Do you think it's bad language? You think it's students staying away from school? You think it's students having a very poor attitude towards the teachers, academic failure, the way they dress? What is the biggest single problem at the moment with schools? And Nav says bang. Yeah, it's phones. 100%. 100% phones. Okay. So we're going to guide our students, and we're going to be a helpful guide at the side. Okay. We don't want to be the person who's saying to them, well, you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do the other, you know, no phones and so on. What you're going to do is going to be the guide, and, showing by example. You don't take your phone out. Okay. You don't take your phone out. Telephone, very, very important, very, very useful. But, it's very, very useful. But tell one of my favorite volunteers who just finished yesterday, 30th of June, went out to celebrate with the rest of the volunteers. His mum phones me up at 2 o'clock in the morning to say, he's lost his phone. I say, okay, say, mum was in Australia. He's lost his phone. Okay. So after 9 months, he's lost his phone. What kind of phone was it? It's an iPhone 15. It cost us, 1,400 euros. Is it covered by the insurance? I said, well, you've been so good for the entire year, and right at the end, you've gone and lost your phone when you're about to start traveling around. I said, Mum, there's nothing I can do. I'm really sorry. So the phone is useful, depends what for, but not in the classroom. Anyway, there you go. Lots of little anecdotes. Right. Our mission in Spain for you. And this is the mission statement of our organization: allow young people of all nationalities. Really, We wish it was 130 nationalities. We're working with about 11 or 12 at the moment, but we wish there were so many more to experience a different culture while benefiting from personal growth, gaining invaluable life skills, and making a positive impact. Okay, your positive impact absolutely is going to be the impact you have at school and the impact you have with the host family and with the host community because you join in with other activities, sports groups, dance, music, adventure. You are going to make a positive impact, okay? But you are going to think about, things you won't be aware of, personal growth, life skills, okay? So when you lose your telephone, or when you do miss the last bus back from wherever it is, or when you do see that the pet dog has eaten your passport, you know, um, you are going to grow as people, okay? And you are going to get these life skills. And one of the life skills you've already done, and I absolutely admire you for this, is applying for the program and completing your application, right? And I know this because for many young people, filling in forms seems to be an impossible task, right? So these life skills which you are acquiring, and when you get here, it explodes. It's like exponential. You don't even realize what you're learning, okay? So it is improve your local language skills, which you will do. Of course, you'll learn Spanish, but it's so much other stuff, okay? And you have to have a very positive view of all the things which are going to happen to you. Okay, just so you know who we are, New Ventures Worldwide, a UK non-for-profit, global team across 10 countries, over 50 years experience. Okay, this is because New Ventures took over from another organization called Latitude. Latitude stopped its activities in 2020, the year of COVID. Okay. Let me see, it's have to put in here, and we have supported 7,895 happy volunteers. This is from a while ago. This is from December last time we did this. And I can assure you that everybody who works in the organization is absolutely passionate about volunteering. We speak on a Monday, the global kind of steering or development group. Every Monday we speak at this time, and we always speak about our volunteers. Well, we spend a little bit of time talking about online tools or marketing or stuff, but 90% is talking about our volunteers, okay? And how happy everybody is, whether it's volunteers or whether it's schools or placements and everybody else. What you're going to be getting is a dedicated staff member, moi, all right? You're going to get a fully vetted placement and appropriate role, which means I've been to visit all the schools you are going to be attending, okay? And that your role is going to be appropriate, which means you're going to be helping provide English practice for students. And what we have to be careful about when we say appropriate role is if you volunteered to be with infants, kindergarten, and you got the 2-year-olds, well, hold on a minute, because the 18 months, 2 years, they're in there. These guys spend most of the time sort of sucking their fingers or, doing poop in their nappies. So you have to decide, well, is that part of your role? It's not normally, but if you volunteer to go into a kindergarten, really, the 1 and 2-year-olds, I absolutely admire you, but you must decide, is that appropriate? Okay. Um, we've had very few cases of people wanting to do that, but it might be a possibility. Okay, you get your accommodation, your food, and your Wi-Fi. Normally with a family. In one case, it's boarding school. In another case, it's it's a shared apartment where you would be given money for food. Okay, you're going to be given preparation and guidance and background support while on placement. So on placement, whilst you're here, you'll be getting, once a week, you can either come in and see me, or we can have a Zoom call. You can call me. We'll have a WhatsApp group. I noticed that all the volunteer groups create their own WhatsApp group parallel. I'm not included. I don't know what they talk about. I guess they talk about, there's this festival, there's a club, there's this, there's the other. What would you do in this situation? Well, that's absolutely fine. That support is from me, from the placement, from the family, but also from other volunteers. And that's really, really important. Okay. Don't be isolated. Let other people know you're there. Okay. We had a situation on Saturday. Okay. A volunteer calls me and said, well, we're out celebrating the end of the placements. We're at a bar in Madrid. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. And one of the volunteers, one of our colleagues, has disappeared. And we called her. I said, what happened? She said, well, she stepped out of the bar because she said she was too hot. Okay. And she disappeared. Question then, what's the next thing to do? What would you do? The volunteers were great because the first thing they did was to tell me. They tried to contact her and then they told me. So if you were in my shoes, what would you do? What would you do if in my shoes? Write your answer in the chat box. In the chat box. I'll give you a minute to do this. I'm going to turn off the video and close the door because somebody's chattering away behind me. Chattering. Okay, we're back. Any ideas? What should I have done? Imagine you guys are in a club, 1 o'clock in the morning. Somebody steps out to get a breath of fresh air, or maybe because whatever it is. What would you do? What would you want me to do if you're in that club and one of your colleagues has gone missing? Any ideas? No. Well, I'll tell you what I did.
Try and contact her?
I tried to contact. I tried to contact her, no reply. And then what happened? They couldn't contact her. So I said, well, the first thing I'd do is have to wait a few hours. You can't just immediately report somebody missing. I said to the volunteers, please, don't contact the police. I will do this. Okay. Talent, I will go over this, all right? I said to the volunteers, please don't contact the police. I will do this. Okay. So I call the police. This was like about 6 hours later because she hadn't turned up. And I tell the police, well, this person is missing. Can you send us a photograph? Can you send me the passport? Can you send me the details of where they were? Okay, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. The police are saying, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. This is a bit odd. And it's very difficult for us to track down because it's a group of young people in a place with masses of other young people. The people are drinking. So unless you can assure me this person was not drinking and was, going about their normal everyday business, our actions are limited. So they said, we'll speak again in 4 hours. 4 hours time, I called the volunteers. Has anybody seen her? Oh, yes, they said. Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah, she's been found and she has her phone back. And I said, so what happened? They said, well, she went outside to get some fresh air. First, she lost her phone. Second, she hit her head. Third, she went to hospital. Okay. She went to hospital. I said she went to hospital alone. Oh, yes. I said, which hospital? So, we don't know. But she called us this morning to tell us that somebody had found her phone and had located her somehow and had given her the phone back, and she seems to be fine. I said, does she have like a big wound? She said, no, she's no wound, absolutely nothing. So what's the story behind this? Because I had to call the police and say, no, she's been found. Which hospital, the police asked me. I said, I don't know. I said, oh, well, that's strange because we do have a database. When this happens, every hospital in the region automatically gives us, we can log in and see a database of everybody who's been admitted to every hospital within a certain amount of time, because that's one of the most common things when people go missing. And she's not on any of those lists, So we say, in those cases, obviously, something happened, but it wasn't exactly that. And I have my theories about what has happened. But then asking for support, as I was asked for support, was erroneous. Okay? Because I gave support, which then made things a lot more complicated. So the police are now locating her to question her. And there's an offence in Spain called wasting police time. All right? Which is when you do stuff like this. So she ain't going to get into trouble, but she's going to be given a stern talking to. Anyway, support. So even at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, you'll have my support. Okay. Visas, travel, insurance, and flights are separate costs. And those are things you have to be very conscious of. All right. And again, within our WhatsApp group, you will be liaising to talk to each other about different options of travel, timetables, and so on. And depending on where you're coming from, you're going to look at different factors, okay, to decide, is the best option one route going direct, coming to Valencia, going to Spain, going to Valencia, coming to Madrid, whatever. Okay, so there we go. Okay, tell me. I really want you to think about, one thing you have to be very careful about and very conscious of when you're coming. You're coming to a country. You're coming to a country called Spain. You're coming with an organization called New Ventures. But it's like, who are you? I want you to tell me, each of you, just for a moment, before you go on a long trip like this one, tell me, how do you think you're going to spend your last day at home? What will you do, with your friends, with your family, or silence and meditate and kind of get yourself in the groove? What are you going to do the very last day? What have you got in mind? What have you got in mind? Okay, Nav, come on. What are you going to do for the last day at home?
Probably do a quiet day in with my mum.
With your mum. All right, okay. David, any ideas?
Yeah, I would probably spend some time with my friends and family, and then probably hit the gym because I don't know how long a period in between it would be till I get to again. So,
Hmm. Okay. What about Rihanna? What would you do your last day at home before going on this massive, great adventure?
I would probably also spend the day with my family and friends and play on my guitar before I leave.
Okay. Okay, Lily. What about you, Lily? Is Lily there? Abby, are you there?
Yeah, I think just spend it with family.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And talent. What will you do your last day at home? We can't hear you. There you go.
I said I would spend, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I said I will spend that time with my family and friends as well.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, so spend the time with friends and family, playing your guitar, doing things which are quite quiet. Yeah, probably the best way you're going to collect your thoughts. Okay, okay. And now just write for me, write in the chat box, all of you. What about what are some of the things that not make you scared, but what are some of the doubts you've got? What do you think? What are some of the things which are going to which are going to be problems for you, which are going to be difficult challenges, let's say, when you get here to Spain? What scares you about coming over to Spain, please? Write the answers down in the chat box. Think for a couple of minutes, okay? What makes you scared, or what are the big challenges? Except obviously for Spanish, speaking a different language. Come on, write something down in the chat box. Anybody else? Nav says income, so the money and budgeting, absolutely, definitely. Yeah. And how much you're going to need and how much you're going to have to spend whilst you're here. Yeah, and we normally talk about 300 euros a month. Okay. Adjusting to the difference in, sorry, travel planning, logistics, absolutely. But wow, that's so much easier today than it was years ago. Okay. And living with a new family. Absolutely right. Living with the new family. Yep. David says income, good. Adjusting to the difference in cultural routine. Yeah, because prior planning won't have been sufficient. So that family and the cultural routine, absolutely. Going alone, learning to do things independently. Yeah. Change in lifestyle. Yeah, you'll never be alone, Rihanna, when you're here. You're immediately going to have a big bunch of other people around you, locally near where you are doing your placement who are going to be, delighted. Those will be the other volunteers. Um, I'd say a couple of people out of about 35 people who are just finishing the program. There's probably about two who or three who said, they've really had um, a bit of homesickness, and it has been an issue for them. The rest haven't mentioned that. I suppose it is implicit in coming, of course, and learning to do things independently. Yes, change in lifestyle. So that thing about, adapting to the family lifestyle, to the cultural setting, to this very Spanish way of doing things where there seems to be no um, limits on time, on space, on noise. You know, it's like the Twilight Zone. Things are suddenly changed with you. All right. You know, for you is unacceptable noise at home over the dinner table for the Spanish is absolutely fantastic. Okay, is absolutely no problem at all. Okay, and again, you know, the idea of time. We're going somewhere, and you see, you know, you're going somewhere, you think, I'm going to be away for an hour. The family have asked me when I'm coming back. I don't know. And then we're going to see a movie at 4. I'll be back at 7. And then you realize the movie's over, you're with people, and they go, what do you mean you're going home? Of course, we're going out. Now we're going to have a drink, and then we're going to have something to eat, and then we're going to do something else. You tell your family you'll be back at 11 or midnight. Okay. So the sense of time as well. So adapting to that is going to be very, very different. Yep. Okay. There's one thing I know in Australia, there's this like little comedy group called the Ethnic Dads. Is that right? Have you seen them? These guys who supposedly are like Italians. Okay. It's a very stereotypical. But the one thing which is true is the way that they all speak at the same time. And Spanish people are very similar to Italian people. Speaks at the same time. And they cut you off when you're talking and they don't listen to the end of your answer. And they've got a better idea. One of the great things about Spanish people, and you say something, well, you know, I'm thinking about buying a Honda car, a new car. The first they will give you their opinions. No, no, no. And they won't say, well, that's one option. Maybe you could do something else. They'll be, I've got a better idea. Okay. And I've got a better idea is a very common expression in Spanish. Okay. And you sometimes feel, well, you know, I've been thinking about my idea for a while, and you've just suddenly come up with a better one. So anyway, ways of communicating. Things for success. Think, think, think. Okay. These are things you're going to need to think about when you're coming. Okay. And it's really important. And, you know, you think about the positive things and please think about your identity, your family, your heritage, your language, your community, and whether that is Australian American, wherever you're from, New Zealand, South Africa, these are things which will always be there for you. Okay. And those are very positive things which built you as a person. Okay. And sometimes when you're thinking, well, how am I going to impress these people who seem to be so proud of being Spanish? Share the information as you want about your family, your language, your heritage. Okay. Be honest. Don't share things you think are going to be challenging for other people. Okay. Yeah, what we like to do is go out and get drunk every Saturday night. We drink as much as possible. Okay. You don't have to share that with the family. That's what they do in your community. That's fine. Okay. But yeah, share bits and keep some to yourself. Okay. Those things which boost you and bolster you as a person. Okay. You're also bringing with you your skills. Okay. All your skills, which is whether it's sports, arts, craft, cooking, baking, music, apart from, of course, your language, English, which you're going to be sharing with the kids. That's the most visible one. But all your other skills, which are things which you can share with the community. Okay, so things you like doing, dance, gardening. Okay. Animals. You like animals. They've got a dog at home. Fantastic. You've got a new friend. Okay. You don't like dogs. Okay. Keep away or learn, how they treat their dogs. Okay. Your future. Think, and sometimes in the difficult moments, and why am I here and all my friends are at home and it's terribly hot and I'm really, I've got nothing to do. Nobody told me about anything to do this weekend and I'm sitting here at home, with the kids. I'm not enjoying it. Think long term, okay? Don't think short term. Don't think about what am I doing today. Think long term. How is this going to help me in the future? The fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm in contact and listening to Spanish all these days. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Then your strengths, your own strengths, these are the things you're building, that you're working on. Okay. Which is again, your resilience, adaptation, social skills, things that you need to enhance and work with. Then your curiosity, which is a very positive thing, very, very positive. Curiosity to start working, to start looking, to delving into what's in that new community, what's in that new society. Right? And then with the things you're going to start doing, which is managing your time, your space, making decisions, making choices, all important things which you need to be thinking about and start enhancing in your life. Because you're going to be independent. And when you're independent, you have to start making choices, not always the right ones, but make a choice. You've got to make a choice. You've got to make a call at times. Okay. To help you with all this, we've got a safety model, okay? And it's a very strict, it's a very, works very well, I think, that the volunteers are selected and matched. That's what we're doing at the moment with the placements. The countries are risk assessed, and the placements, we have a risk assessment for all the placements. There's no inherent risk to any of them. Because they are all permanent facilities, schools, which are, approved by the local government, regional government, and therefore they meet all the health and safety standards. Okay. We're going to brief you about about individual placements, risks and challenges, which are going to be transport, risks, which might be the weather. It's very hot or it's very cold, but in a freak incident, there might be a flood, like happened last year. I don't think we'll have another flood for another 50 or 60 years, hopefully. Okay, those things can happen. We don't have any volcanoes, no infectious diseases, no plagues, a plague of rabbits or frogs, anything like that. I've not seen them. Okay, food is safe, water supply is safe, so we're all fine there. You then arrive in the country planned, already planned, the placement is planned before you get here, and then whilst we're here, you will be getting support, ongoing support from us and from the placement. So that's the school. Okay, so you've got a lot of support, and the other part of support is also from the other volunteers. I've got to tell you that. We'll talk about our ladder of support a little bit later on. Okay. Your responsibilities are quite clear. First of all, which is to abide by the Volunteer Code of Conduct, which you have signed as part of the terms and conditions. So you must read that again. Okay. All right. Have realistic expectations. Be willing to make a difference to others. Look after your health, safety, and well-being. Treat others with respect and courtesy. Be open to learning rather than imposing your own views, values, and culture. And escalate any issues and concerns swiftly and appropriately. Okay, which is very important. And we're going to talk about a very simple example, which is when, imagine you're living at a family home and there's a small child, and every time you go out, you close your bedroom door, and every time you come back, you can tell that somebody's been in there looking amongst your things. And it's quite obvious that it's not one of the adults at home. It's, you know, the 8-year-old or 7-year-old or 6-year-old. Okay. And so what do you do there? Who do you talk to? You talk to the child, talk to the parents, talk to the school, you talk to me, you talk to your mum back in Australia. Who would you talk to, do you think? Who would you talk to in this situation, do you think? To the parents? Yeah. What's the risk of talking to the parents? You might offend them, but what might the result be of you telling the parents that, you know, that little Diana has been in the bedroom? Yeah, the children might get in trouble. Yeah. So you have to see what the situation is. Obviously, you're not going to, well, you could tell me, but don't expect me to intervene if you haven't spoken to the parents or the children first. Okay. So we've got a level of things. And David, don't, you can tell your mum, but, you know, don't tell your mum not then to call me and expect me to give her an answer because, you know, she's probably not got too much to say, and she probably understands more than you about little kids. Okay, so it's important to know when and how to escalate things. I would say if you did it with the kids, maybe if you felt confident enough, maybe you could make it into a little game. Okay. And I don't know, like where you could hide something and you could play hot or cold, yeah, when they're looking for something. And when they get near your door, if they look like they want to go into your bedroom, it's like, oh no, that's cold, cold. You're not going in there because that's my room. You know that, don't you? So without confronting, you just, you know, make it part of an explanation. There's no need to say you can't go in my room. Okay, it can be done in different ways. Right? Or you could hide, you could plant something in your room, maybe. Yeah. It says, if you find this, you know, please show it to your mum. All right, and then you bring it up in a quite natural way. Okay, good. There we are. But that's also important for important things. How and where to escalate issues. So, swiftly and appropriately. So, I would say that our volunteers the other day, when their friend went missing at 1 o'clock in the morning, escalated the issue too quickly. Okay. Appropriately. I don't think they took into account that people had been drinking. All right. Um, and they were just a little bit too quick to tell me. They could have waited for 6 to 8 hours and they wouldn't have to have told me anything. Okay. Okay. Here's a case study. Here's a case study. I'm going to tell you something, actually. I'm going to tell you something about this person. Okay. First of all, look at her. and listen. Tell me, can you hear?
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah.
Okay, so this is Sarah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm living in Victoria Gasteiz, and I'm working at the school core semesters. And I love being with the students. I love to see them, how they developed, and to work with them. It's always so much fun. And I'm quite of independent, so I can do my own project, work with them, do a bit more things which are not that they used to do in the classes, so like kind of projects or something like this. So yeah, I have a lot of fun at school. Also, being abroad is a whole experience. You learn a new language, you get to know new people. So I just can recommend you to go abroad and do the social service like abroad. Even though there will be some things you will struggle about, but don't worry, you will figure it out, trust me. I wish you good luck with everything, and yeah, it will be great.
Okay, did she look like she was having a really good time? More or less. What she mentioned the school, she mentioned the things she can do, making friends, new things, trying new things. What did she not mention there? Anybody? She didn't mention her host family. Okay, and she didn't mention her host family because she had a really unpleasant host family. Okay, she had a host family who every single day spoke about money. They spoke about money, and this is very odd. Spanish families don't normally talk about money, but they let her know how much it was costing them to accommodate her. Okay, and she heard them speaking frequently, complaining about the money, the money, the money. And they were very rich people, so this was not a problem for them. And she felt very uncomfortable. And so she made a decision. She said, look, I like the placement, I like the school, I like the city, but I don't like this family. Okay. And she said, I would like to continue, but I'm going to look for my own accommodation. And we said, well, that's going to cost you money. She said, I don't mind. I've saved some money. I would rather share an apartment with other people, other students, and do this. We said, well, that's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. It's the only case we've had somebody wanting to do this. And after that, if you looked at this video like 1 week later, completely different, because she would have been talking about the new friends, the new apartment, the new experience of living alone. Yep. So yeah, and she was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, a really, really good. And she was very, very conscientious. She was a great volunteer from Germany. From Germany. Okay, which brings us on. What are our host responsibilities? The first one is to agree realistic duties, to provide support, to deliver an appropriate placement. Again, provide appropriate accommodation. Very important. Okay. Which means the family or whatever it is which is being offered to you must be of decent standard, decent quality, and appropriate, which means a single room for you with all your meals. Okay. Okay. And then ensure placement level health, placement level health, security, and safety. Report your progress to New Ventures, which they do after 2 months initially, and then we can open when we speak. Okay. And monitor and manage volunteer performance, which lets us know and see how you're getting on. And they should sit and speak with you as well. Okay, those are the host responsibilities. Host responsibilities do not include organizing your social life, you know, allowing you to say, well, I'm not going to school. I'm going to go and do a kayak or paddle surf course next week, so I won't be in. All right. So those kind of stuff. So it's important that the host responsibilities are what they are, and I speak to them frequently. If you see anything which is not being done for you, you let me know. Okay. Our code of conduct, and this is part of our conduct, is I will make every effort to fulfill my commitment to the placement. I will abide by all the laws. This year we had a volunteer who was caught with a bag of weed, of marijuana. Okay. Possessing marijuana is not illegal in Spain. Using it in the street is illegal. Buying it or selling it is also illegal. Right? So she had a apparently a large bag, and it was found at the family home. And the family said, this is not appropriate. We're sorry, you can't stay anymore. Okay. And this is one of the kind of smoking, drinking, drug use. Those are three very clear red lines, unfortunately. Okay. Unfortunately, to the extent we can't really support you if you were found drinking at school, okay, or you arrived at school drunk, smoking in the family home, or taking drugs in the family home. We wouldn't be able to back you. All right. Also, I will not place myself or others at risk. Important as regards, particularly, we say most of the risks that we find are connected with alcohol. Okay, 90%, 95% are somehow connected with alcohol. Okay, why? Because when you go out, and when do people drink? Late at night in crowded places where you're likely to meet people you've never met before, where you don't know their intentions, and that's a risk. Okay, alcohol always seems to be there. Right. And so you need not only to look after yourself, but when you're out with other volunteers, you need to guide them, and you need to help them and talk to others. Look, don't you think that, you know, Abby's had a couple too many drinks? Maybe we should all just go back to the hostel now. And I know a lot of you will be coming, and it's the first time you've had this contact with abundant alcohol, which is very, very cheap. Okay. Also, you have to acknowledge that your attitude, behavior, and actions may reflect on me and my host placement. So outside of my assigned volunteer work time. What does this mean? Yeah, you're fine. You go to school, you do your placement, absolutely great. But weekends in the local community, you're like, wow, you are at it. You are number one rave. All right. You are the raver, and everybody knows this, and everybody sees you. Okay. You have to think about it. Is that the right place? Sometimes I do say, you know, you will be getting together every 3 or 4 weekends. And I say, you know, if you really want to go and party, maybe you should be doing it. Okay. Maybe you should be doing it somewhere else, or when you all get together, you know, in a slightly different setting. Yeah. That any serious breach may lead to immediate dismissal. Okay. In the case of the drugs thing, it was immediate dismissal. It was literally the family called me, sent me some photographs. I spoke to the family, spoke to the volunteers, spoke to the school, And she left that same afternoon. Okay, we found emergency accommodation for 4 or 5 days, and that gave us a chance to say, well, is there something else you could be doing whilst you're in Spain? And yeah, we found something for her, so that was good, but there you go. Okay, there you go. And the next big thing, of course, is to smile, please. All right. The Spanish people smile a lot, and they smile at you when you're talking, and you think, are they laughing at me because my Spanish is so rubbish? And it's not. They are like genuinely impressed and pleased and showing how happy they are when they meet somebody, even they just speak a couple of words of Spanish. So smile. If you don't smile, they're going to think you're really miserable, and they'll be asking themselves why. Okay, so the natural state for a Spanish person is always to be smiling and happy. That's how they think people should be. Okay. Responsibilities and you. Have you read the Code of Conduct? You probably did with your terms and conditions some time ago. Read it again. What difference do you think you'll make? Ask yourself and answer this to yourself in the family, in the school, in the community. We've got a new project coming out, okay? Hopefully at autumn, maybe January next year. I'll let you know about it. It would be really nice if you are able, if you had the chance to take part in that as well, which is additionally making a difference, not only in your own volunteer placement, but maybe one Friday out of 4, giving up a couple of hours to work in a completely different volunteer placement. And it might be a couple of hours. Valencia, there's a big marathon in December. You might want to volunteer organising the marathon, being there. All sorts of different things, but we'll tell you about them. Okay. What are your expectations? You need to start forming your expectations. Obviously, easier once you've got the placement details. Okay. Okay. And what do you think you'll learn? Again, set out your learning outcomes. What are the things you want to learn? Okay. And what are the things you think you'll learn as a kind of byproduct? Okay. So these are things you need to reflect upon. Okay. And you do need to reflect before you come. Then this is what we call the ladder of support, and we try to make this work as much as possible in quite a structured way. Okay. And this is our ladder of support. So where would you get support from? If you have a basic question like, I want to go out, I've got to buy some underwear, okay? Or I want to go to the gym, I want to get some cheap clothes, sports clothes, which I probably won't even take back with me. What do I do? Who do I speak to? Do I speak to the family? Well, they're all a bit older than me. I speak to volunteers, other volunteers. They will have that experience which they can pass on to you, which is very practical experience, okay? It might also be, look, at home, at the family home, they look at me a bit strange. Or at every time I have a shower, I come out and they don't seem happy about it and I don't know what to say. Okay. Ask the other volunteers about their experiences at home. Ask the other volunteers how much they're paying when they go out. All right. And they're absolutely fantastic because that's sharing common knowledge, which is going to be very useful knowledge. If you're not getting the answers or the issues are related to the home itself, talk to your placement host. Speak to the person at school because they will know the family. Okay. And they might say, look, yeah, we do know there's been some conflict in the family because this person or that mother-in-law or father-in-law is not well, and the family are having to spend more time looking after them. They haven't told you. They didn't want you to get worried. Okay, decide when to talk to the placement host. Then talk to me if you're having a problem at the placement or at the family and there's no kind of you're not getting the solution that you wanted. Talk to me if you've lost your passport, your telephone. Okay, if you're worried about another volunteer, talk to me. Let me know. Okay, your information will be, I will keep secrets. Okay, unless it's something really big in which, I really have to intervene. Okay, but I won't identify you as the person who told me. So again, particularly if you're worried about another volunteer. If there's something which cannot be handled here because I've gone missing, or I just say, well, don't, I'm not interested in your health or your passport or anything like that, then you would have to go upstairs and talk to James. Right, you've probably had emails from James about invoices and stuff like this, and you speak to James. Well, that'd be James and I who would make a decision. Let's imagine you were in trouble with the police. Okay, then James and I would make a joint decision on the best way to go forward. Can we help you? Should we help you? Should we pass it on to your embassy here in Spain? Okay. And then finally, if I'm missing or whatever, or you think it's something which is contractual, which is not working, and it is specifically very different from what you thought you were going to do, go straight up to James, okay, or the board. Parents are not here. Why not? Parents are not on your list. Basically, is what we said before. Your parents are a long way away. And you probably know that social or cultural setting more better than them. And so anything you say to them immediately, if it's a big problem, is probably going to make them very, very upset. Okay, and they're probably going to be worrying needlessly. So if you've lost your passport, okay, no, if you've missed the last train home from Madrid to Valencia or from Valencia to Madrid, if you tell your family, they're going to be terribly worried. If you tell me first, I can probably say, well, first of all, let's book you a hotel somewhere. Okay? Book you a hotel, you go to the hotel, change your ticket for the following morning, then you call your parents. Parents will be happy. Okay? But very often, because your parents are not here and they can't give you immediate support. If you needed some money, possibly. But there's a lot of scams. A lot of scams, actually. Yesterday, when I got a message from the volunteer's family saying that he had lost his telephone, okay, the first thing I said was, can you explain the circumstances of this before we go on? Because it's such a common scam at the moment. You get a text message saying, I've lost my phone, I have no money, but I'm with a friend. Can you send me $200 just so that I can book a room and do something like that? Here's the PayPal account, here's a bank account, whatever it is. Okay. And it's always, I've lost my phone. And so people pay the money. It turns out nobody's lost their phone at all. Okay. It was just a scammer trying to get money. All right. Anyway, specifically, when we're in Spain, your placement is at a school. You'll be working 16 to 18 hours a week, Monday to Thursday, between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. normally. Some schools might have a different timetable. Some Fridays they might ask you to come in. They might. Okay. If they do this, it might be because there's a special celebration. Okay. It's very, very uncommon. I will tell you all that since to offset any kind of doubt about a school asking you to come in on a Friday on a regular basis, schools are informed that on Friday we will have weekly meetings and seminars which you're expected to attend. So really any school which is wanting you to work on a Friday should tell me beforehand, right? And since it's not part of your normal rota, you're not obliged to go in on a Friday. Okay? You're working as a language assistant. There is some general supervision, but you're not working as the sole supervisor of a bunch of children. You'll be having host family full board, and it's January to June. I'm sorry about this. I should say September to June. Okay, is our school year. Between that, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And also you'll be given the opportunity to give some private tuition and also to do some weeks in immersion camps. So those are English language camps for children. A lot of Spanish schools do this. The kids go off to the mountains with a bunch of English people to an activity center and they do activities and English during the week. Okay, you normally get paid about 300 euros. You'd be with other volunteers for the week in some very, very beautiful places, practicing English, but in a completely different way. Okay, those I'll let you know, and it depends on geographical proximity whether you get to do them or not. And it's when companies tell me, come along, so I've got an activity week, we need 3 people, 4 people. Okay, and they're normally very, very enjoyable. The schools know that you have the right to 1 week free every term. And that 1 week can be justified either by going one of the immersion camps, because you're going to do a course, because you have family visiting you. So those are 3 reasons you could be. So things we have to justify. Right? Okay. Here's another bunch of volunteers in Burgos in the north of Spain, mainly from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, these guys. And here's Stella. Now, let's think about Stella.
Hi, I'm Stella and I'm from Canada, and today we're at the Alcazar in Segovia. It's this really beautiful castle, and I've been here for about a month now and I'm absolutely loving it. My family is amazing. I live just about 10 minutes from Segovia, so I get to come to Segovia all the time and check out the bars. Made lots of friends. It's amazing here. I love it so much.
Wow. Well, she's a little bit different from Sarah, wasn't it? Okay, so she's loving it. So she was living just outside of Segovia too, in a very small town, different town from you, Nav, but yeah, definitely made the most of everything she could do in Segovia. Yeah, she was having a good time, and she had a great time right up until the end. After she left, when I went back to see the school, yeah, you know, for their 3rd volunteer afterwards, and I said, wow, she was our #1 volunteer, absolutely fantastic. You know, not all volunteers are as good as her. And the family said to me, well, actually, yeah, she was really nice, but she wasn't she wasn't that good. she she was okay. I said, well, but she always said fantastic things. And so it's funny, isn't it? You just don't know. they were happy with her, but not as happy as she was. All right. So it was great. So she went home. She's got great memories, but okay. I said, what was the problem? She said she spent all her time meeting new people. I said, okay, that's what would you do if you're 19 years old? Okay, and you get the chance to meet new people. What would you do? Well, we didn't know. I said, well, that's you should have said, you know, you should have told her that no, it's not okay if you go out from Thursday to Sunday every week and then turn up on a Sunday night. That we did want you to spend some time with the family. Of course. Okay. But anyway, she's got great memories. I think she was fantastic anyway. Okay. These are, as you know, this is Spain, Madrid, where we've got a few placements. Segovia, we've just got one placement. North Castilla Leon, a couple of placements. Zamora, one placement, and then a little cluster around Valencia. These placements are moving around all the time. Okay. And so definitely during this week, we're going to get new ones coming up. We've even had an inquiry from down here in the Canary Islands. Okay, I don't know if that's going to come out, but I will definitely let you know if it does as an option. That would be if you're the only person there. Does mean you're going to have very little contact with the rest of the volunteers. Okay. And then we have to think about our school calendar. Our school calendar, each different region of Spain, and there are 19 regions. You've got Galicia, Asturias, Cantabria, Basque Country, Navarra. Look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in not a long distance. It's not a long distance from Navarra over to here. That's 5 different regions, which means there's 5 different education ministries, and each one has got a different calendar. So if you're in Valencia, this is your calendar. The green dates are the days that they start, depending on the level. And the red days are your holiday periods. Now, in addition to your holiday periods, you will also have some local holiday periods. Okay, so March is generally the whole week. Then you've got Easter and so on. May, you've normally got 4 or 5 days. Okay, so it's important when you start planning travels and leaving the host community that you do ask and look at the school calendar. Okay, because it might not be the same as your colleagues who are in different regions. Okay, getting around Spain, this is a bit early to start talking about this, but both rail and bus services and even air services, there are low-cost versions of everything. So Valencia to Madrid, Madrid to Barcelona. So those are both about 3.5 or no, less than 3 hours, 2.5 hours between Madrid and Barcelona, an hour and a half between Madrid and Valencia. You can get cut price tickets for €9. Okay, you want to go from Spain to Portugal, you can get a flight for €25. Spain to the UK, you can get a flight for 45 or 50 euros. Right? I'm going next week, following week, €69. There's only one way, €69. Wow, that's amazing. You know, absolutely amazing. So you have to look around. You'll be able to look. We'll update these and I will send you information before you come. Okay. All right. Keeping in touch. You are going to need an online bank. okay, or access to your bank so that you can get money or a debit card or credit card. Very, very little cash is used in Spain today. Very, very little. Okay? You can do everything with a debit card. But make sure for emergencies that your debit card will allow you to take money out of bank machines. You know, and find out what's the commission. Is it going to be €3 every time you take money out? Is it free? I don't know. But those are things you have to see. Yeah, you have to see, and then you have to make a call. Well, it's really urgent. You know, I need €30 to pay for a hostel tonight, and they only take cash. Oh my God, they're going to charge me €3 commission. Well, it's an emergency. So just bite the bullet and pay the €3 commission, please. Okay. Don't think too much about those things. Right? The small things in life you don't have to think about. Okay, just do them. The big things, which is finding somewhere to stay, you have to be careful. But if it's immediate, you're just going to take the action. Anyway, online banks, Wise and Revolut seem to be the big ones. Okay, N26 seems to have disappeared, so I don't know anything about it. But Revolut and Wise work very well. They'll give you a free account, a free debit card, and you can make international payments and international transfers for free. Okay. Right. And then think about also a SIM card and data. You can ask your home provider. We recommend Lobster, okay, because all the customer service is in English, and we've got a promo code. I won't give it to you now. I'll give it to you further on during the summer, okay. But you get 50. You don't get 50 gigas. You get 100 gigas, okay, of data, which can be used in Spain, in the UK, in the EU. All customer services in English. It's $12.99 a month at the moment. Unlimited calls, SMS within Spain, the EU, and the UK, and you get a first month's price of something like €8. So that's really, really good. So they've upgraded the offers. Instead of being 100 gigas for 18, you now get 100 for $12.99. Because most people use WhatsApp, then that data is really, really good and probably better than using the phone, the call service. Okay, but have a look. If you find something better, let me know and we can share it with other volunteers. Right. Arrival, which is going to be 25th of September 2025. Okay, arrange with the placement. If you want to arrive earlier and you've got the placement details, speak to them directly. You're welcome to. If not, I want you to be in Madrid on the 25th of September, please. The placement should give you a written timetable, a home schedule, speak to the family, your responsibilities, what they expect of you. You'll have time before you arrive to set these things out. And I will help you. Okay? But you should arrive in Madrid, 25th of September. This is, of course, if you want the orientation. Now, if you want the orientation in Madrid, which I absolutely recommend, it has a cost, which is the cost of covers your accommodation with breakfast and your onward travel to your final placement. Okay. The cost will be €200. That's 3 nights of accommodation, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, breakfast, plus your onward travel to your final destination. Right. Think about that. The German volunteers, it's included for them because I have a different fee structure. So I've already booked 12 places for the Germans. It's very, very easy for me to go back to it's a hostel right in the city centre, right smack bang downtown in Madrid city centre. A lot of fun, safe, easy to get around. Good place, actually a good place. So I will start sending out messages over the next 3 or 4 days so I know exactly how many people are going to come on that orientation. Okay. You're welcome to look for your own accommodation, 25, 26, 27, okay? And your own onward travel arrangement. If you're arriving before, like some people do on the Wednesday, and you want a full day to get over jet lag and stuff, then talk to me. We'll see how many people are coming in, and I can help you book a hotel. Or I can tell you, look, this is a really good hotel we've used before, where if all you want to do is rest and sleep, you might feel more comfortable. We can help you with that as well. Okay. Good. Couple more case studies. Well, we already had Sarah, and then we've got somebody else. Let's see what she has to say.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Hobart and I'm currently volunteering in Spain. I'm situated about 15 minutes from Bilbao, which is one of the major cities up north in the Basque Country. I am absolutely loving my time here. It is so beneficial to be living with a host family as you find yourself submerged in the culture in a way you just couldn't achieve if you were traveling by yourself. Working at a school is awesome as well. I'm currently teaching secondary kids, and seeing how I can have a positive impact on their English skills is such an awesome thing. The friendly people, the amazing food, the intense love for football are just a few of the reasons why I love it here so much. Getting to meet so many new people as well, like the other volunteers doing the program, you can form some really nice friendships, which is also super cool. So if you're wondering about doing the program for a few months or a year, I would definitely recommend it because I think you're going to have an absolutely awesome time.
Wow. Now that was Sarah, who was very, 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 very shy. Okay. And she was sent off to a placement where very few people around her. Like she says, you can form some great relationships and bonds with other volunteers to the extent that you want to. Okay. All right. Some volunteers get together and they go shopping, and other volunteers get together and they go clubbing, and others get together and go hiking. You know, don't feel, and particularly we've spoken about now, alcohol. Don't feel the obligation to get involved with people who are like big drinkers, okay? And you don't like that. There will be other people amongst the group who have a more similar kind of mindset to you. Definitely happened this year, okay? The ones we saw the photographs about and heard the stories about and the missing telephones and, you know, stuff like this were the big drinkers, okay? There's always an alternative. Wow, Sarah, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. From Hobart. I don't know what it is about Tasmania, but the volunteers from Tasmania are absolutely fantastic, okay? Absolutely brilliant. And I don't know what it is. I have no idea why it is. Okay. So what do the schools want from you? Some questions to think about. We're going to stop now. Hour and 24 minutes. But here are some questions. I want you to think about this and reflect. What do the schools want from you? What will the effect on the family be? You're another adult coming into the family home. What will the effect be on the family? Name 3 issues you will face. 3 challenges, let's say, that you will face. I remember my first challenge was asking for food. I didn't understand a word. There's a menu, even if they use this thing called the Menú del Día, the daily set menu, which is the cheapest way of eating in Spain, which is a set menu, first course, second course, dessert, glass of wine, and a piece of bread. Okay, you still do that for about 11 euros. You know, that's what Spanish people do. There you go. You got like 5 different first courses, 5 different second courses. I didn't know. All I recognized was salad and chicken. So I'll have the salad and the chicken. It was great. Okay. It was brilliant. Okay. But, you know, anyway, those sort of things, issues you will face. Being offered food, you don't know what it is, you don't like the look of it, you have to eat it. That's one of the issues you will definitely have. However, if you are a vegetarian or pescatarian, or your religion or beliefs say that you should not eat certain foods, you then have a difficult question to say, does it contain any meat? Because I don't eat meat. And you have to trust them when they say, no, it doesn't. Okay. What will you need to learn? We're going back. What are the things you need to learn? Name 2 places to visit in Spain. And then, what is beyond your comfort zone? These are questions for you. I actually got them here in a Google form. So I'm going to copy the link and put it in here. And you can take a note and I'll put it in the WhatsApp group. You can do the questionnaire. Okay, do the questionnaire. There we go. And I'll put it in there in the WhatsApp group as well. Spain orientation. So it's really for you to reflect, okay? It's for you yourselves to reflect on some of the things coming over now. Okay, good. And that basically is it for today, all right? So tomorrow we want to talk about some other challenges. And because the Germans are coming in on Thursday and Friday, we're going to speak about the 2 most important things, which are schools and family. Okay? So before we finish for today, any questions?
Are the rest of the sessions also going to be 90 minutes each?
Yes, they are 1 hour to 1.5. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. Okay, lovely. Right, we'll stop now then. So I'm going to stop recording. I hope it's been recorded. Okay. I'll stop.